Welcome to Module 4 of Climate Change, the Fight of Our Lives, from Emergency to Solutions. The title of this module is Psychology and Climate Change. The first part of it is by me going into broader aspects of climate psychology, and the second part is by Humaira Iqbal, who will focus on climate anxiety. Since I'm a psychologist by profession, this lecture is especially close both to my head and to my heart. When people ask what is the cause of climate change, the answer is that we are the cause. Our lifestyle, everything we think and do, our habits, values, and our actions. Realizing this also leads to the solutions. We need to change all of this. And that immediately creates some psychological barriers. And this section is about these barriers that stop us from doing what we need to do. Why do people do so little despite knowing so much? First of all, I'd like to put a big question mark after the claim that we know so much. Those of us who are active in the fight against climate change are active because we do know a lot, because we take it seriously and not just intellectually. We are letting reality seep down into the body. We open up our feelings, we open up the feelings it triggers in us, and we allow it to be expressed in political actions. Because we just feel that we have no choice, because we see the future consequences of what's happening today and the necessity to act now if our descendants shall have a chance of survival. We think in a long-term perspective, and we are open to face reality and not engage in unrealistic wishful thinking. Therefore, we listen to science, and we listen to the few of our leaders who dare stand up and paint a true picture for us. Unlike the majority of media and the majority of leaders. This has the consequence that we know much more about the urgency of changing our lifestyles if we are to save the planet as a livable space for our species. And thus we have made this the focus of our life. But as a percentage of a population, we represent a very small minority. The vast majority react in a completely different way, which is tragic for all of us. Climate change has an enormous emotional impact. Grief, anxiety, and depression are widespread consequences. However, these emotions can, when we share them with like-minded people who we trust, be turned into solidarity and collective outward action. Originally, the idea was that you should see 2 TED lectures right now. The titles were How Climate Change Affects Your Mental Health, that's one of them, and the other one was How to Turn Climate Anxiety into Action. Unfortunately, copyright issues does not allow me to include these 2 lectures in this module, so instead you'll have to go to the lectures after finishing the module and see them there. But they are important in this module and they are part of the module. The description after this module will include links to those videos. Denial is the problem. People don't want to face the facts, don't want to see them, hear about them, or talk about them. Most people live with a very short-sighted and narrow perspective. They are keen to make the basics of their everyday life work, the here and now, the daily activities, family life, work, finances, mental health problems, acute problem solving, all of that fills up most people's lives. The perspective is often days, weeks, maybe months, not years or decades. And what drives most people has a huge selfish component. The idea of setting aside their own interests to give future generations a chance for a life is quite remote for most people. It is true that most people have heard about and thus can be said to know a lot about climate change. Public media do convey some knowledge, but most of us are reading, watching, listening to what we want to face up to, and put the head in the sand when information gets to be too troublesome. To me, it's relevant to think about 3 levels of denial. First, intellectual denial. You deny that climate change is taking place and or that it is man-made. Fortunately, there are not many people who still think this way. However, only a few are allowing this knowledge to turn into an emotional reality, thus arriving at the next level. The next level is emotional denial. You acknowledge that climate change is real and that it's man-made. But this recognition remains in your head. It's too scary to allow it to become an emotional reality. You simply do not dare to open up to the feelings concerning how dangerous this is or can become, either for yourself or for your descendants. Political denial means that you both recognize that climate change is real and man-made. You accept the emotions this is causing, for example, feelings of powerlessness, sadness, pain, anxiety, perhaps anger over this. But you leave it to others to do something about it. The feeling of powerlessness and apathy stops you from involving yourself in practical action on a political level. You probably think that your efforts are not important, that you cannot contribute anything of importance. And when others seem not to care, you also continue with business as usual. In my attempts to contribute to increased awareness about this, I have experienced that different age groups have very different reasons not to engage in the climate battle and not to allow intellectual knowledge to become an emotional and political knowledge. Parents with children at home and full-time jobs are much too busy making ends meet in their everyday life. Even talking about their children's future is not enough to make them receptive to messages concerning the urgency of action now. Families with full job and without children are often financially and otherwise so well off that the resistance to getting out of the comfort zone is extreme. So, unfortunately, many from the grandparent generation feel and act the same way. As a consequence of this, if we are going to solve this problem, the main focus must be to go via youth and children, who then hopefully in turn can put pressure on their parents, etc. But those of us who have grandchildren really cannot afford to neglect this. humans are very good at using defense mechanisms to avoid making difficult changes in life. Denial is one of them. This phrase, "my mind is made up, don't confuse me with facts," illustrates that some people are very reluctant to accept new facts that threaten their worldview and puts question marks at the opinions and viewpoints they hold. Other people have already given up solving the climate challenges. If it's too late anyway, it all goes to hell. So rather have a first-class cabin with all included, celebrating with full party and music when the Titanic is going down, rather than giving up our short-sighted comfort. But for those of us who love our children and grandchildren, this is not an option. Some less cynical but very common defense mechanisms are the reluctance to go out of your comfort zone and do something that claims some efforts and extra efforts. Another defense mechanism is the reluctance to face the necessity to change lifestyle. So in order to justify that we continue with business as usual, we keep pursuing good arguments that support it. We call it chasing good reasons, but I call it chasing bad excuses. If the media had done their job, they should be full of scary scenarios and proposed solutions every day, instead of advertising sports and in different points and courses, and at the same time adding space to downsizing the challenges. This gives a news picture which distorts reality and adds to disinformation and doubt. And when most people get their news input from media supporting status quo, it's obvious that John Doe has many good reasons not to care. The media tells him that everything is, if not quite normal, then in any case not particularly dangerous, and absolutely not dangerous enough for him to wake up, get out of his comfort zone and act. The same applies to our elected leaders. Only very few of them dare to describe our present predicament of the planet in a realistic way. Most of them stick to advocating the possibility of continued growth in all areas. They join forces at climate summits, promising each other to do what's needed, and many of them go back to their countries, initiating policies that are totally at odds with the promises given. All in all, signalizing a double standard, saying one thing and doing the opposite. And this hypocrisy legitimizes that people are not taking the present close to extinction scenario seriously. Good nutrition for defenses, for apathy, and for business as usual. And even if we know that we need to change our lifestyle dramatically if we shall have a chance to survive as a species, it seems our leaders are not willing to give the marching order in this direction. Maybe out of fear of losing popularity, maybe for other reasons. So everybody is confirmed in their belief it's not really dangerous. But we have to tell them that they are wrong. And we do it best when we vote for our leaders for the next term. This is one of my favorite quotes. It most certainly shows that you too need to get involved. And based on this, quote by His Holiness Dalai Lama: if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Or maybe even more clearly, if you think one person cannot make a difference, think about what Greta Thunberg did, what she accomplished. So, now let's end with a short video showing people who have turned climate despair into climate action.
When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
Action is the antidote to climate despair. And when you get out there and you're with other people who care about this, it kind of brings about this sense of hope in you, which is really powerful and encouraging and therapeutic, honestly. And just seeing all these people get together around this critical issue and exercising their voices and their power is just, I find it really encouraging and probably the most powerful thing any one of us can do. At the end of the day, we are the ones making the planet warmer. Therefore, we can turn this ship around and work together to make this a healthier, safer, and more just world.
And now Humaira Iqbal will take you into the realm of climate anxiety.
Hi, I'm Humaira Iqbal. I'm your teacher for today's course. I am full-time working with dairy beef and small ruminant projects in the University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences, Lahore, Pakistan. These projects are supported by Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research and implemented by the University of Melbourne, Australia, and the University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences, Lahore. I'm the first livestock researcher who went to Antarctica to understand the climate change with 112 women in STEM across the world through Homeward Bound program. The theme of this program is Mother Nature Needs Her Daughter. So my detail is on the screen. You can note and later you can contact me if you need. Today we will talk about climate anxiety. What does this mean and how do we need to take action upon it? There are various terms are used in this context like climate anxiety, eco-anxiety, environmental anxiety, climate trauma, climate stress, and the recent term which is used as burnout. So all are these refer to global climate crisis and the threat of environmental disaster. A psychotherapist, Sarah, says that eco-anxiety is a term that is used a lot, but it is misguided if it's not used in the right way. This is not an illness or disorder. It is a perfectly normal and healthy reaction. If the prospect of climate change makes you discomfort, stressed, anxious, or depressed, then don't feel that you are alone. Someone talks about climate change and how do you feel about it. There are various responses you can get, like you feel determined, you feel excited, scared, disbelief, angry, frustrated, optimistic. So you can't explain that what actually do you feel about climate change. So what people are doing, it's not easy to discuss. Climate change is fun to discuss. Avoid it and move on. These are the responses which people sometimes behave. So there is actually disagreement or lack of harmony between people's thinking. We need to understand what dissonance is and what types of dissonance is occurring. Like there are three types of dissonance, like cognitive dissonance, cultural, and emotional. We discuss about cognitive dissonance, like it refers to a situation involving conflicting attitude, beliefs, or behavior. This produces a feeling of mental discomfort, leading to the alteration in one of the attitude, beliefs, or behaviors to reduce the discomfort and restore your balance. So the cultural dissonance is uncomfortable sense of disagreement, confusion, or conflict experienced by people in the cultural environment. The change are often unexplained, not understandable, or due to various types of cultural dynamics prevails in one society. And what does emotional dissonance means is like emotional is a feeling of unease that occurs an emotional experience as a threat to his or her identity. Actually, this helps us to understand ourselves about all of these agreements within ourselves, and it also helps us to understand for others' feelings. But there are certain fears alongside, like if we talk about cultural dynamics, then fear of losing social group is a fear that we can't move on. Like fear of losing a particular lifestyle, we will have to reduce something, we will lose our lifestyle that actually hinder us, like these two types of fear. So what needs to be done we will discuss in our next slides, but before discussing these we need to discuss about burnout. What is burnout? The result of accumulated stress over long-term involvement in the things that are emotional demanding, a combination of enduring stress, high expectation, pressure. Actually it impacts on yourself, your workplace, your family, and your friends. So you need to understand that these all are impact on your. So let's unpack burnout. A psychotherapist, Caroline Crotty, says that everything that you would associate with stress, you can associate with burnout, like headaches, heart palpitations, quicken breathe, feeling dizzy or disjointed, or maybe even fainting. So, brain overwhelmed by the onrush of information and plans reaches its full capacity, leading to emotional, mental, and physiological exhaustion. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. There can be a slow build-up with several warning signs. You must need to understand what are those signs. So, we will discuss about those signs. The warning signs are emotional, like irritation, you lose your temper, feeling guilty for resting, doing pleasurable things, a feeling of hopelessness. So, the second sign is cognitive signs like difficulty in making decisions or staying focused, a growing tendency to think negatively, or a loss of sense of purpose and energy. The other sign is behavioral signs like imbalance between work, family, play, hobbies, difficulty getting out of bed in the morning. You often observe sometimes you feel when you are much exhausted in some task. So you observe this and becoming accident prone. And the fourth sign is physiological sign, a general sense of running on empty, muscle tension, headache, backache, and tiredness. These all are the signs, so you can reduce these all things by opting a certain actions, a certain tips. A beats is a tip that you must understand that what you buy, what you eat, what energy you use. Do you need two lights or one light? Are you traveling on road, on bicycle, on air? So talk about the environmental impacts, talk about your burnout, talk about yourself, within yourself, with the people, and support each other. There are other terms I will share with you, a report or a finding, a very interesting 8 psychological strategies to tackle climate change, which is called Activate. A means acknowledge your feeling, what you feel actually, anxiety, confusion, hopelessness, every response which you feel by yourself. Allow yourself to feel your feeling. It can motivate you to take a break. C mean you need to create a group norms. like build trust within the people, within yourself. You need to opt certain practices like reduce, reuse, recycle. Give your home an energy health check. Reuse plastics, fly less, buy less, and waste less. T means talk about it. Break the silence about climate change. Tell others how you feel, how you are doing, what information is out there, what they can do, and inspire others. So I refers to inspire others, that what does low energy refers. Sustainability means to you and how you can reduce the carbon emissions. What, why, and how. You must transfer your vision to others. You need to value yourself, caring for my family, caring for my community, valuing the natural world, social justice, poverty. Live more in line with your values. So, restoring a safe climate linked to the values. What does A means? You need to act. You need to do things that is meaningful to you individually, collectively, locally, globally, practically. So you need to understand and take along with yourself the like-minded people. T refers as time. So talk about with the people that this is time now. Don't wait for tomorrow. So show people climate change is here. It's impacting us. It's impacting your family. It's impacting your community. It's impacting our community. So things they care about, it is happening now, not sometime is the distant future. E means engage with nature. So visit the places, go to the places which are very meaningful to you, which gives you the lesson, brings you joy, restores your spirit, remind you about why this is important to you, and protect the nature and greens around you. These all about the simple terms which you opt, and then you will reduce this anxiety, and this will create the environment of eco anxiety awareness. Thanks. If you would have any question, then we are available. I hope you have enjoyed these simple tips and it will help you to reduce the impact of climate change. Thanks.
This is all for today. But climate psychology is a huge subject. I already told you to watch 2 TED Talks as part of this lecture. That is mandatory. And you will find the links in the description underneath. In addition, I also list a few extra videos in order to understand other aspects of climate change psychology. All videos on that list are part of your homework before next session. I'm positive that you will find them both useful and enjoyable.